What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. My name is Eric. If you're new on the channel, go to the channel homepage, check out the why, who, what Rad Potential video. It's at the beginning. That'll explain everything about who we are, what we do, all the cool projects we're working on. So, today's video, we are here midway through putting this engine in this FD. This car is right-hand drive, which helps out a lot, in my opinion. Keeps the steering out of the way. That way you don't have to fight the steering while you're putting the AC bracket on, or the AC on its bracket. So the reason that we're here though, this exact moment in time, and why I'm talking to you, is this is a key, important thing, okay? This is a very important part of the engine install. You need to make sure that all of your bolts are within your AC compressor. If you have the AC lines disconnected and you have the compressor on the engine already, you need to go ahead and connect this line right here, because you will not be able to get to the fitting once the engine is in place. And if you can get to the fitting, kudos to you, because that is a real pain in the butt. So this is how I prefer to do it. This one I didn't discharge the AC, so I'm going to lower this engine a little bit further. I'm going to mount the AC compressor to the engine, then we're going to continue with the install here. So if you don't know or whatever anything about this car, first time here, this is a 1992 RX7 FD. I brought it here while I'm waiting for the paint to cure on my rally car, and this car just needed the engine swapped out. I didn't have to build the engine. This is the old engine. It's still in good shape. Stockport REW. This one right here is a half bridge, and it has a fully balanced, enlightened, fancy, all machined up Chips Motorsports rotating assembly, which is sick. So the turbo setup on this car is not stock twins. It has the big single Johnny right down here, which will be going on. Also, don't try to install, unless you have twins, don't try to install your engine with the turbo on. I went through and you'll see I painted the engine bay all nice and made everything fresh in here. And if you had that turbo on there, you're going to scratch it. So I'm going to get to work, get this thing buttoned up, and we'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, so quick stopping point for the night. Now that the motor's in, and I still got to dress this up, which you saw me already dress all this up, but we're going to interject this before we start it for the first time. I had this issue where the crank signal plug right here, which goes here and here, so talking to my buddy Jacob, mad shout out for helping me at a late hour, he learned me on how all this stuff works. These wires were really crappy and one of them was broken, so I've figured out that I can extend this plug. I have another FD harness here I'm going to use. I'm probably going to go ahead and just fix both of them at the same time so they're equally as fixed, and the sensor references should all be in my head the same. And I got to deal with that. So make sure when you're working on 40-something-year-old cars that, I say 40, what, 93, 30-something-year-old cars, that you don't break, or just inspect your wiring. Make sure it's right. So I'm going to fix that, and we'll get this thing fired up. Alright guys, so we're back to the FD. I kind of remember where I left off, but not really. So I went ahead and pulled the intercooler back off, switched the crank signal plugs. So a quick rundown. On the front of an FD engine, REW, This doesn't have like your standard, just a distributor and all that stuff, right? This has a trigger wheel, a crank position sensor, and it has little magnets that sit here and here. This one is a 12-point magnet that, or I guess it sees 12 displacements with the 12 points that go around, and then it has a home sensor that sees this one, which is 0. So if you have those backwards, the car legit won't run because it won't see that it's cranking and be able to tell it to fire. So I already kind of test fired it. I didn't like actually let it run, but now that I've got the door open, we've got it full of coolant, at least as best as we can be. We got oil in it. We're gonna go ahead and fire this up. I know it's not gonna like idle and stuff, but we're gonna fire it up. So here we go. Well, we may have to change the tune because it's not too impressed with that. But you can hear it starting to fire. I bet there's a little steam coming out the back. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and I gotta finish some stuff up, like yard work, this, that, and the other. I'm gonna text my buddy Jacob, see if he can help me get my laptop connected to this thing, because this one doesn't have like an actual like powered up COM port thing. It's got a like a USB just conversion wire, so I don't really know if I needed to have a driver for that or what. Like my old one for my Power FC, I had to have a driver that ran the USB to serial conversion and this, that, and the other. So when I get that figured out, I'll let you know. As far as I saw, I had a little bit of a water leak, which isn't dripping now. I cleaned it up. I'm not sure where it was coming from, but it was dripping from what looked to be this connection here. So not a factory FD connection, but the heater line reroute on this car, as it runs back around and into the center and comes over here instead of going by the turbo and stuff, goes through the front, and there's a U-shaped silicone hose here that then has a coupler right there that's just double hose clamp. So it might be leaking from that. I might have bumped it or this, that, and the other. You never know. But so far no oil leaks for what I had been cranking it, and we'll get it fired up here shortly. So yeah, that's not ideal. You know, ideally you just fires right up. It ran for more than 6 seconds. I gotta figure it out. Thanks a bunch, dude. Peace, brother. Alright guys, so I'm going to pause the video right here, which I normally don't do this, but wanted to interject a few things. First things first, in order to get this Power FC started, I had to talk with my buddy Jacob, who suggested I just make some global changes to the bottom of the map in order to get it fired up. So this car has a excessive intake manifold, which has the primary injectors now located in the secondary position. So instead of running the primaries in the center iron, we had it set up to run the primaries all on one fuel rail with the secondaries right next to them. And that proved to be an issue, and I'm probably going to change that in the future. But that's why this thing, I struggled to get it started. I've been driving it to work for a few days here now, editing it, and I think we're going to change it so they're in the normal primary position. But the tune was just all jacked up. Had to figure it out. It's just kind of a pain. The Bridgeport's not all stable pulling air. So that's why this has been a pain to start in this video. I apologize I didn't cover it in the video. So now back to getting it started, finishing it up. Alright, so got it fired up. Had some weird idle things going on. So hooked up my smoker. Maybe I ought to make a video on making this smoker. This thing is the ultimate budget smoker. You just have to have one in your shop. Using everything you can buy for cheap. Grill regulator, paint can, Flow plug magic. Anyways, I smoked it, and I've got a vacuum leak coming from right in here, the upper to middle intake manifold. So that's a metal gasket. It's going to look exactly like this one. And that's going to be why it's trying to idle high and do some weird stuff. So I'm going to pull that intake manifold off, clean it up, inspect the gasket. This one's a little twerked, which I don't like. Unfortunately, I don't stock FD RX7 upper intake manifold gaskets here. It's just not something I work on all the time. So I'll see if I can get one. But for now, what I may do, I'm not really running it into boost, not doing anything gnarly. I might just take this gasket and just run a little bead of silicone around each one of the ports, just a real thin one, and then let it set up for a little while and come back and see if I have a leak there. So I got to go wash the RX8, do a couple other things, so we'll see. Just got back from a test drive. It has a very heinous exhaust leak. I didn't have new exhaust manifold gaskets, the ones that go between the manifold and the motor when I put it together. So I reused the old ones. They looked okay. Turns out they're not okay. So I gotta get new ones of those. But nice idle. 12 something on the AFR. And so idle on that 12 something on the AFR. That's all good. Like I said, heinous exhaust leak. Gotta fix that. But I just took it for like a little 20-minute drive. I didn't bring you guys along because, one, it's dark and it's late. Two, it's very boring when you're just tuning drivability stuff and just going real slow and kind of going in and out and stopping in the middle of the road, etc. So, or stopping in the middle of a closed course. So I got it to where I've got, basically half throttle, no boost, and up to anything that I can drive in like 4th and 5th gear on the interstate, so I can go 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, and maintain that speed, and not too crazy rich or lean on the AFRs, staying in the 12s, and, we're going to start cruising it to work. I'm going to take the laptop with me tomorrow, and the next day, and we'll film a video about what it's like to daily drive a right-hand drive FD RX7, because that's what we's about to do for the next couple weeks. But I did wash it. I cleaned the engine bay as well a little bit better. I'm going to put the strut brace back on. I hosed the shop out. And, yeah, that's the half Bridgeport and the FD. I think it sounds sick, besides that terrible exhaust leak. And I'm really not too stoked to drive right-hand drive. Not my jam, but then again, I've never really done it a whole lot, so we'll see how it is. I'm not used to like mailboxes going right past your face. But we'll get this motor broken in, engine broken in, and put some kilometers on it, and hopefully right now we don't have any leaks. I clean the floor so I can see if I got any leaks tomorrow morning. But my little post-drive inspection, I think we're good. So it's looking like that's going to be the end of the video. So thank you guys very much for watching. Tips and tricks on putting your FD engine back in. I guess there really wasn't too many, but just putting that stuff back together. One big tip, if, I don't know if I showed this. If I did, I'll edit it out. If you are going to put your turbo and manifold and stuff on together, loose the engine mount on that side, put a floor jack under the transmission, keep the other side engine mount in, jack the transmission up, that engine will pivot over, and that'll give you a ton of room to slide this whole thing down in here all in one bit. If you don't do that, no shot. So hopefully I showed that earlier in the video. This video's kind of been over the last couple weeks. Stuff's happened in the interim between this, but I think, before and after, here's your after. I think it looks sick. I think it's a huge improvement. The intercooler stuff's all getting redone for a V-mount, so I didn't worry about polishing any of this stuff up. The fab guy that we've got here in town that's going to do the work for Chris is going to get all that sorted, and it should look super nice. So, with that, thank you guys very much for watching. Go check out the RX8 video. We just got an RX8 on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Keep it rad. Got all dirty on the first drive. Come on. Can't be having that. Is the dog in the window? Nope. Dog doesn't care. She's asleep on the couch.